Shady Bovada. Welcome in. We appreciate you hanging with us. The weekend. Yesterday was the Thursday night edition. Today, it's the weekend edition of the No House Advantage Strategy Show. Geoff is in the house, most importantly. Tyler is producing. And then me, I'm hanging with you. So if you're with us, we appreciate. We'll remind you throughout about what you can do to match your first deposit, $50 worth at No House Advantage. Thumbs up, subscribe. You know all the drill that you've been hearing, pardon me. That's 2 straight shows that I couldn't get through the intro without saying something or stuttering through it. So I don't know, maybe this is a good sign that I've corrected it, like a double negative has corrected it. But what's up, my friend? After a brutal, god-awful, painful football game last night, maybe that's what it was. I'm still trying to recover mentally from having to sit through and watch not 4, Geoff, but nearly 4 2/3 quarters of football.
Yeah, so my brain turned off after the Broncos blew the fourth quarter because just literally I just stopped being able to process the natural world at that point as to what the fuck just happened with how do you go with 2.5 minutes left, the other team's out of timeouts, you need 4 yards and the field goal's fine and you lose the game. Like I don't know. I still just like, how did the Broncos lose that game? I just don't understand. So anyways,
they've only covered 1 game and 1 first half this year.
They should be, and you know what? They could be 5-0. Like it's not a stretch. Like they could so easily be 5-0.
I'm telling you,
there's such a weird football team. I don't ever want to see this team play again. I hope. No. Like I'm turning off the TV if they come on.
And we'll dive into everything here at NHA in just a quick second. But if you wanted just a, I don't know, tertiary angle / element of this weekend, nobody's happier about what's going on with Nathaniel Hackett in Denver than Pete Carroll, right? Because of the departure that was with Russell Wilson. Well, Seattle, Russell Wilson has never beaten the Chargers. Wouldn't that be something if somehow miraculously, right?
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Next week, not this week, next week. I just want to clarify that. I wasn't talking about this week. Chargers.
And not look, when everyone's down on a team, generally that's when the opportunities roll in. So we'll see.
All right,
my friend. Be counting them by this time next week.
Yep. Well, it was definitely just forgettable football by all means. And exactly. There are a couple of different ways, right? We can look at our free projections online. We have those all set for you on No House Advantage. Our optimal lineups are there for you as well, where it's just as simple as plugging and playing from 10 down to 1, depending on the tournament. So if we just want to look at what we have, and the Josh Allen era aside, I mean, it's essentially Khalil Herbert, Davis Mills, Kenny Pickett. You do have an Alvin Kamara, Nick Chubb in there, although I'm a little surprised. Maybe we should start there. And I'll get your thoughts. You know what? I'll hold that because you start wherever you were looking ahead of time. I don't want to on the spot.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I think most of our lines are correct for No House Advantage right now. There are a couple like the Josh Allen passing.
That's wrong, right?
It's not 41.5 on No House Advantage. Yeah. So that's one. But let's actually start at quarterback because I like the quarterback props on No House, and you can really attack. You can take hard lines there. You can go over on props that are you think too big and get an advantage there. But I will say this, after talking about that game, talking about how bad Russell Wilson, let's talk about Justin Fields. I think this is a really good spot to go over on Justin Fields.
Really? Hold on. Oh, by the way, Josh Allen is right.
Alexander.
Josh Allen, the line at 41.5 passing yards is correct on No House. That's not a mistake. That's the actual number.
So it's just like a gift line or something.
Exactly.
Okay,
it's like a
today. So
Taco Thursday, if you will, but in this case, it'd be Friday.
Yeah, I was just going off our projection, so I didn't check. Okay, fair enough. So the Josh Allen one, that's a gift. Go over. That's not hard. But Justin Fields, 159.5 passing yards, 0.5 passing touchdowns. Look, the touchdowns and stuff, that one's a little bit riskier, but this yardage, I'm telling you, I think we're going to see Fields go for 200 yards this week.
Really?
Vikings are a top 5 pace team. They've allowed the 4th worst yards per pass attempt against, and they have not played good teams. Like they have not looked good. Like they've been kind of getting masked by playing bad teams. So, and then they had that game week 1 where the Packers never show up week 1. So who cares? But I think Fields, who put up 285 against them last year, I think he comes to life a bit here. Darnell Mooney got going last year. He's going up against Patrick Peterson. I think he's going to torch him. So, yeah, I like this over. I think it's too low a line even. And like this no house line on Fields 159, it's actually lower than the sports books.
It is.
The sports books have a 165. So you can, people might just be looking at Fields. I'm not going to touch that. I like the spot. I would take the one over. I would take the over passing touchdown as well. I actually would.
All right.
Not as a higher point play, but I would still, yeah.
What would you put it? And I'm glad you brought that up because we have the top point play out immediately with Josh Allen. So again, that's the gift. But is this a 7-8? Is this a 2-3? I mean, where do you find yourself putting it?
So the Fields yardage, I would definitely label as like a strong play. I mean, it's projected for us too as a strong play at the over. It's not just me talking it up. It is, our projections have Fields for a bigger day than that. So to me, it's like a 7 to 10 pointer. And again, I don't think many people are going to use it either. So it'll be a little bit unique. Obviously, we're talking about the Sunday slate. We got way more props to choose from on a full game slate. But yeah, so for the pick'em contest, to me, it's projecting out as a strong play. It's projecting for us as a strong play. So yeah, I just wanted to start there because I don't think too many people are going to be thinking about the Bears, but I really do. Like I've been keeping an eye on Fields, man. I mean, like, yeah, this Bears offense, they can't run the ball on 70% of the plays through the whole year. It's gotta regress to the mean at some point. Like last year, the Saints were the heaviest rush team in the league. I think it was the Saints, and they still pass the ball like 50% of the time. So we're going to have some games where Fields throws it like 35 times or something. And those are coming. And I think this is like their first dome game. Like I said, it's the perfect opponent. It's a pace up spot. I think going over on Fields passing yardage is just like, it might be the only prop I bet this week. Honestly, I might just throw everything at it. So that's how strongly I feel about it in the spot.
Now I'm under this game. We just got off for the Odd Shop, our live show on the Odd Shopper channel. And I was under 43.5. I think this has dipped a little bit, but the big reason why I was under was because Chicago, doesn't matter who's running the football, Herbert, Montgomery, they can, to your point, they're running 70% of the time. And I'm with you. And this is why I would be concerned in general. I don't think I'm fading you. I'm not disagreeing with you. I just wanted to get your thoughts on this. It's not even to push back, Geoff, so much as just to get your thoughts on this all-encompassing, which is the Vikings defense is horrific on the ground. You're right, though, that they can throw on Minnesota as well. So my concern was not that they won't regress to the mean, but maybe not this week simply because of the Vikings run defense mixing up with how good they are on the ground. But I guess if I can even answer my own question to an extent, and I'll throw it right back to you real quick, that should soften some stuff up for Fields, shouldn't it, throwing the football?
Yeah, and look, like, no, and that's an outcome of the game. Like you can still bet the under here. I mean, what is it, 43.5?
Oh, yeah. I think the under correlates. Fields could throw for 220 and this thing stays under. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't, just because he's making some plays doesn't mean they convert in the red zone either. So not exactly like a great red zone offense either. So, but yeah, to your point, I still think like it's a great point. He could get there even if they do have success on the ground. I mean, that's how low a total it is. So, and then I think for us to go under this, like either Fields would just have to be so horrific, or the Vikings defense would have to step up and just like shut him down completely, which I just don't think they're capable of doing, or the Vikings offense would have to have almost no success, which I don't see happening either. So I think that the total's low enough that, like you said, even if the Bears get ahead, there's a good chance Fields just goes over it because like he's having some success. It's still a soft secondary. Maybe he throws like 15 times and he goes over it. Like that's how low the total is. We see Jimmy Garoppolo do that sometimes, like throw for like 220 on like, 17 passes or something. So I just think that the total's a little suppressed for this spot. I still think Fields will eventually regress to the mean a little bit. And I like taking advantage.
Now, with that said, I just want to follow up here because we do have Herbert as the second highest or second strongest projection.
Yeah.
Going under is 60.5 rushing yards at 79.7% hitting the under. So that could correlate a number of ways with what you're saying, with Fields just either throwing a little bit more and getting that number of passing yards due to volume, or having enough plays in the air where they don't necessarily are using Herbert from a volume standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like, look, if Montgomery plays, I mean, the Herbert under is all of a sudden way more viable. And,
That's true too, right?
Like if the Bears do get behind quickly in this game, and this, like, say the Vikings score 14 quick points or something, I mean, like, Herbert's rush yards just may not be there. So no, I think the under is projected on Herbert for a couple different reasons. I think the main thing is just like the question mark on Montgomery, but it looked like this is a big total. We're talking about 60.5. It's not, like a meaningless total. So,
right.
He's projected for like a full workload, which he may not even get. And, it's also a spot where the Bears are 7-point underdogs. So the game flow could be going against them too.
All right. Awesome, man. Awesome. We spend a lot of time on the Chicago Bears offense.
Yeah, that's probably enough of that.
Right. Well, I mean, look, it's not an easy pivot to either Davis Mills or Kenny Pickett, especially since those are unders when you look at interceptions and touchdowns. I did want to get your thoughts, though. Alvin Kamara and Nick Chubb, one in Kamara, who is our highest rated over outside, of course, of Josh Allen, which is the obvious gift. Kamara, though, is projected to go pretty high, nearly 20 full yards over the line that is on NHA. I don't know if A, how much you agree with that, and B, if this can be a 9 to 7 point play here, if so.
I mean, it's certainly projecting like we should be like thinking about it like that, right? I mean, Kamara hasn't done much to this point in the year, but I mean, it should be a fairly strong spot for him. I mean, with Andy Dalton in there as well. I mean, you figure they want to get him going. And then obviously the Seahawks rush defense just being what it is, getting bullied by Jamal Williams last week. I really don't have anything bad to say about it. I think you just kind of take that one and kind of use it as like a free space almost. If you want to, I guess if again, like we're thinking, game strategy a little bit, you could think about, putting that maybe in a lower down spot where, if he does bust for some reason, or maybe gets re-injured, or maybe I don't know, maybe Seattle just pushes this to be a shootout again, and Kamara ends up at like 45 rush yards, then you could put it down. You get a little bit of advantage of the teams that are just going to, have this in their 7 to 10 spot. So I'd feel pretty good about this one though. I mean, I don't really have a reason to think. I think Kamara is good enough too, that like he could break out a couple big runs. So we may only need like a 10 to 12 carry day out of him to get there too. So I don't have any reason to fade this. Seattle's defense is legitimately that bad.
Yeah, you're right. And that's the thing about the Seahawks is it's just hard to get around that defense alone. No matter how the game plays out, there's going to be opportunities on the ground, in the air with Kamara. So that could impact as well, softening things up for him on the ground. And
they played, they played in a shootout last week. Yep. Like their defense isn't exactly coming in fresh.
Good point.
I think it's kind of this game is actually weird. Like, I think it's kind of a tough, I get why people like would want to be taking the points with the Seahawks here, but I also think it's a tough spot for them. Like coming off that long game, like I always be wary of what teams did last week. It's like the reason why we didn't really like Miami coming off that game where, they had to come back against the Ravens or excuse me, right, coming off the Bills game. So going up against the Bengals on Thursday night. Right. And obviously just didn't work out for them well either. So kind of a similar spot, I think, for the Seahawks. It's just, they played a really long game. It was back and forth, ton of plays. Defense can be tired going into New Orleans. Like, yeah, Kamara should kill this. I mean, really, realistically.
So here's one that I don't necessarily agree with or think. And look, it's high up. At the very least, I'm surprised. And I don't know what the projection would be based on. It's probably something that I didn't account for or missed, which is fine. That's why I bring it up. But if you look at just like the Chargers, the combined record of the teams that the Chargers have beat is one win. Cleveland is arguably better than that, right? Based on what they've done They haven't lost a game by more than 3 points, right? All 4 games so far. And they run the absolute living shit out of the football with not 1 but 2 guys. The Chargers are just bozos. They should have ran all over Houston last week. Instead, they didn't want to run against Houston, right?
Just about blew that game.
Exactly. And Houston could have run all over the Chargers, but Houston's just coached by even bigger bozos. So this feels like a Chubb and then Hunt. Like, this just feels like a game that is catered to the Browns, not only staying in it, Geoff, but Nick Chubb being such a major vehicle. In full 100% disclosure, I'm over 90. I believe it's 90 and a half. I'll get the exact number. I went over 90, 91 and a half rushing yards in the book for Chubb. So maybe the addition that you're getting on NHA is why, but I'm shocked that we have Nick Chubb under so high on the list.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm missing something, and I defer to you, sir.
Well, I mean, like rushing projections are always, they always take into account injury factor, the fact, playing a decent opponent where the Chargers could get ahead and the fact Hunt is there. But I'll be dead honest. I am 100% in lockstep with you here. Nick Chubb is the best rusher in the NFL right now, in my opinion. He has always been like a top 3 rusher. He's got injuries, played on some bad teams. He is just like a man determined this year. Like, he's going to run right through the Chargers. Like, he's going to it's going to be Swiss cheese. I love this game for DFS too. It's a one I wrote up because I think that Nick Chubb is going to force the Chargers to throw a ton too, just to keep up. So yeah, I think it's a great spot to be contrarian and go against the projections. And I think a lot of people will look at the 96.5 and say it's too big. It's almost 100 yards. We can't do this. Yes, definitely do it. I think it's a good spot for Nick Chubb. It's a good spot to use it in a lineup to be a little bit different. You'll probably be going against the field, which is nice. So good leverage. Yeah, I'm completely on board with everything you just said. So
just check.
I just like Nick Chubb too.
Me too.
He's just like good. He's out. Like, he just looks like he's just going to run everyone over.
I love it, there, man. Like, I know. I absolutely love it, man. Yeah. And I was looking to see if we had anybody else that would correlate in there. No, I mean, look, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, like what's Mike Williams at? I mean, like, we could go the other side, right?
Mike Williams is under 5.5 receptions at 4.4 projection. We have that at about 68.7% going under.
Yeah. I might look at going over Mike Williams' receiving yards. He's probably going to see Denzel Ward. He's got like a 5-inch height advantage, but maybe Herbert is the play. Justin Herbert, 285. It's a big total. Again, like, if you're going to go over on Chubb, you might as well play the other side and go over on Herbert as well. I mean, he threw for 300 yards last week. It's a spot where, he's probably going to be forced to throwing the ball a little bit more too. The Cleveland does allow a decent amount of big plays. I think Myles Garrett is back this week.
Yeah, he is.
You're wrong about that. Yeah, so that should help their rush defense.
That should also just help the team, don't you think? Like, you've covered and talked sports long enough to know, like, there's an impact that should be added into this.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, like, Myles Garrett being on the field just like, reinvigorizes a team.
Yeah,
right? So
I would think
reinvigorates a team, I should say. But yeah, no, I mean, you could look at the Chargers props. They're definitely juiced up. They're not as like, I don't feel as strongly about it as Chubb, but I just think, like, I see this game having a lot of points.
Yeah.
I think that both these defenses are a little bit overrated. I think that the offenses, like with Chubb and Herbert out there, like, I think they're going to move the ball. So I think it's a good game to, again, like, we're talking like tradition. This obviously No House isn't traditional DFS, but you can still take the same ideas. If you like Herbert in traditional DFS and Chubb, play them for overs in this game. If you think this is going to be the shootout. That's what I think. And that's exactly what I would do. I would probably look to correlate my Chubb over with probably just going Herbert over yards as well.
So I want to get your thoughts on where else you've been looking and bouncing around. I did notice that we only really have 3 hard overs that are like, that 64% or higher of hitting. Everything else is overwhelmingly under. And before we get to that Winston one that I just wanted to throw at you, you talked about the Seattle defense. That offense, Geno Smith threw a lot of footballs, and that we do have him over a half a pick projected for 1. And again, I don't know if the volume necessarily slows down. So if that's the case, you would anticipate more throwing still. And that just means for a guy like Smith, the variance there of throwing a pick.
No, I like it. I mean, okay. I think it's like, I mean, we just talked about a letdown spot for the Seahawks defense. And
yeah, exactly.
I think it's similar for Geno, unfortunately. Like, I mean, I even if he plays well, I mean, like, you know, the Saints have playmakers. They still got Lattimore in the backfield there, like, or in the secondary there. On the road again, like they're not playing Detroit here. So, you know, like he's not going to put up whatever passer rating he did last week. I know that the Saints haven't been like world beaters yet this year, but this also feels like a spot for the Saints to kind of just get it together defensively. They always start slow defensively. It feels like they always seem to just have these stretches where they just allow a ton of yards. They look good. And then they just they just like revert to like this shutdown defense. I think this could be a spot where that starts to happen. So yeah, this is definitely a prop I would be looking at. And to your point again, I don't think that the Seahawks are going to be able to not throw the ball this week. Like, I just don't think that they're going to be in a spot where I actually kind of, the more I think about this game, I might even just like take the Saints on the spread because we've talked about it. Now I'm kind of talking myself into it, but yeah, Geno Smith over a pick. Absolutely.
Well, this may correlate to you going on the Saints here because Winston is the only other over that really jumps out. We have him at 68.4%, and that's just for passing yards, by the way. That's the only prop in which he's standing out there. So that would play into both Geno Smith and Seattle throwing, New Orleans either keeping up or staying up. And to your point about just winning the game outright, knowing that a couple of guys have been coming back, including Kamara.
Yeah, no, and I think this prop on Winston is too low. I mean, like Winston's been really efficient when he's been healthy enough to be in the Saints. He's got Olave now. I almost look at Winston's prop as the same as I look at Fields, and like those are probably our two like strongest overplays for passing on they are on this slate, Winston and Fields. And I got nothing, like I really don't have anything to say except I would take the over at Seattle. The defense is terrible. The Saints still have a ton of like the Saints receiving core is legit. Like Winston's going to be able to move the ball here.
Yeah.
I like this one for sure.
All right, where else shall we go, my friend?
I mean, like we could stick with quarterbacks here. Like Mariota's under, I think is really strong. I think that's one again. Like I'm not going to fool around with it. Pitts is out. You know, like Tampa Bay. And the other thing is like Tampa Bay's rush defense really hasn't been that good. So Atlanta's, I think, is actually going to be able to move the ball on the ground. That's a monster total for Marcus Mariota, man. Like just crazy total, 214.5. So, I mean, like, I think that's projecting as a really strong under. But yeah, let's see if there's some other positions here, guys who just feel really strongly about. I mean, we just talked about Geno Smith throwing a pick. And you've got Rashad Penny there too, 69.5. I like Rashad Penny, but like, again, I mean, we're talking about how bad the Seattle defense is, how they could be gassed this week. Winston being proficient, like it's a good under to take on Penny. I mean, like to correlate it with that game. So, you know, if we want to start off running backs there, like that's kind of one. It's high up for us too. It's actually one of the stronger running back unders on the board.
You're right. Breece Hall's another one that's popping here, going under his total, 51.5 on NHA. We haven't projected nearly 10 yards below that.
Yeah. And like the Jets, still with the rotation, you know, and I think Zach Wilson he's probably gonna turn the ball over against the Dolphins. Dolphins just have like a very opportunistic secondary, good corners. So again, that's gonna take away some of Hall's opportunity. Hall could get there as a receiver for like just production, but I wouldn't really want to go over on the Jets running backs. So that's another one I'd feel pretty good about going under on as well.
Yeah, I was looking around here as far as any other running backs. I mean, Damian Harris coming in, that's actually a pretty decent gap. That's 12 yards difference between the projection and 12 yards higher on NHA. So clearly a nearly 70% underplay for Harris.
Yeah, and that's my computer. I was looking for Ramondre Stevenson's props, and we don't have them. We just got Harris up.
Yeah, so, just Harris in that one.
I wasn't sure. It's a big prop, man. Like, I do think the Patriots are going to run the ball a lot, and I think they're going to have success against Detroit. It's Detroit's first outdoor game. I think Jared Goff is, due to perhaps just, the Patriots at home, coming off the OT. I think that this is a tough spot for the Lions offense, which correlates to the Patriots running the ball. But like Harris is like Stevenson has actually out-touched Harris over the last 2 weeks. It's really close. I mean, they're both getting work, but I don't know, man. Like that's a big prop for Harris, even though I do like the Patriots to run the ball. I don't know if I could take the over on that, even as just like a contrarian play. There's too much, if Stevenson gets going, he just rips off a couple big runs. There's all your yards. Like Harris may just get like pips from like maybe he gets like 15 carries, but he just doesn't break the big run. Like that's too big for me. I would stick with the under there.
All right, brother. Anything else as we head on out of here? And again, a reminder, everybody, you can use our promo code First Deposit up to $50. We're going to match No House Advantage. Use our projections, which are free, our optimal lineups, which are available to you as well on Stokastic. So everything is here for you on the shows that you can use as another component. Anything that you want to hit that we didn't hit on the way out?
No, I mean, like this Pittsburgh Bills game is a little bit interesting, like how to play it. I do think that like Pickett is going to be better than people think against the Bills. Again, the Bills are another team, 2 really tough road games in a row, coming home. Defense still banged up. I'm not calling for like a Steelers win or something, but I think that they're going to be able to move the ball a little bit. So like Deontay Johnson's prop is really low. That's something I would be fine, like 54.5. I'd be looking at the over. And you could correlate that on the other side. Like the Bills wide receivers are banged up. Like the Steelers secondary is awful. They've just been allowing a ton of big plays. So Steph Diggs, like you could correlate the passing games in that. I think that would be fine. We talked about a bunch of unders there. I think like that's another game where I might be looking more to correlate with the overs, especially with those 2 lead receivers.
Awesome. All right. Well, look, good luck to everybody out there. Appreciate you hanging with us. Thanks to Tyler for producing. Thanks to No House Advantage. Go ahead, take advantage of all what we've given you, from projections to a deposit match. And hopefully one of you out there takes this, runs with it, and wins one of these contests so we can see that screenshot next week. For Geoff and Tyler and everybody else here, have a great weekend.
Have a great one, guys.